than my physical body. Because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about fire. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. It is Lighting the Void live here on the Fringe FM, October the 22nd, 11. It's 9/11 here in the natural state. Staying with the out-of-body experience tonight. Where the hell is everybody? Nobody's getting out. What's going on? I hear what people are saying. I want the magic back. I want to get out of body. Well, it's a test, I think. What's up, Jane, Sudi, Jenny? Jane, Sudi, Jenny, Gypsy, Jenny, Ava. Oh, boy. I think it's a test. I think this whole damn thing is a test. It does seem like 2 or 3 years ago, the magic was working more, wasn't it? Like 2-3 years ago, things were a bit more, maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, I don't know. Things were more magical. Things seem to manifest easier. And I haven't released the video on the temperance card yet because the temperance card has everything to do with that message. That's a whole other thing, though. You know, that's a whole thing. So if you're into the tarot, you can check out my mansplaining videos on the tarot. There's about an hour a piece for each card. And the cool thing about the tarot, especially the Rider-Waite tarot is that the entirety of the Western mystery system is in the tarot. It is. So everything from magic to alchemy to the Kabbalah, astrology, like the whole system is in that deck. So you really don't need anything. Like you don't need a million books, although it takes some books to understand it a little deeper. You just need a good tarot deck. That's really all you need. So, was that a smile I just saw? You should have seen me a while ago. I was hopping up and down to Tiesto, man. I'm starting to get used to this schedule a little bit. You know, there's a lot going on right now. So I apologize about not getting the tarot video up, but it's coming. I usually get it out once a week. Raps produced during a dream. And before I get into that, I think it was Sudi mentioned to me today. It does seem like when you hear people talk about when they get out of body, that things are a bit fuzzy. Like things are a bit fuzzy, things are a bit weird. Sometimes you can't see. There's all kinds of weird stuff that happens that sounds almost the same as a dream. And I get that. But damn it, I need you guys to listen to me on this one point. When you have a real like OBE, I don't even know what to call it. I've struggled with this for years. I don't even know if I would call it a real OBE, like a real etheric projection. When you have that, mansplaining, yeah, you won't doubt it. There will be no doubt, even if there's fuzzy stuff. So remember this: when you dream, you don't remember how you got there. You don't remember when it started. You don't remember when you became halfway conscious. You're just dreaming. Just like the movie Inception shows. We don't even know how we got here to this place. Sometimes you wake up and you remember the dream, and sometimes you don't. That's not what the OBE experience is like at all. At all. So right now we're just trying to get people to the vibratory state. And what happens? Most of the time we just fall flat asleep, or we lay in bed and just stare at the ceiling all night. This has everything to do with our ability to not be able to relax. What's up, Cosmic? To relax like a cat. And I mean relax in a way that you've never relaxed before. That's how relaxed you got to be. And with that, you also have to be focused. So it's a hard combination. But what is everything in the mysteries that is worth doing is that whole 2-in-1 thing, right? Usually nowadays our brains are so inundated with intellectual stimulation from our phones. When we go out like a light because the brain's tired. So I'll put this challenge out there. Stop doom scrolling on your phones. Just like, let's focus on getting out of body, or at least get into the vibratory state for a week. Anytime you anytime you feel like picking up your phone and just doom scrolling on it, don't. Go for a walk. I'm not saying don't talk on your phone, don't text people, but stop the doom, like scrolling and reading everything. I did it today. I watched some videos on some weird stuff. I got sent a video about some dude that likes to, I don't even know if I want to talk about it. It's weird. And I couldn't help myself. I went to another video, to another video, to another video. So, yeah, we got to stop doing that. So really become obsessed with it. Relax and focus. All right. There's my lecture for today. Relax and focus. So, raps produced during a dream. Oh, and by the way, let me open up the phones too, because I think Jessie might call back. She was talking about calling back. Something had happened, right? Awaken the Mind. Thanks for the sub. Yeah. I forgot to open up the phones. Hold on, let me do that real quick, just in case, because I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss that phone call, because she's got a pretty interesting story with her and her son, if she calls. There we go. I should hear it if you call. If not, I'll call you back. How about that? So here is Vuldoon, Sylvan Vuldoon. This book, I saw too, Jenny, that you got this book. That's cool that you went out and bought the book. That's really cool. Because if you can understand what this guy's saying a lot of times better than I can, let me know. Because sometimes I have to read this stuff twice. So on the evening of March 17th, 1928, I had been reading about D.D. Home and of his ability to levitate his physical body. Listen, I'm not buying the levitation thing. Sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm I know some people perceive that they've levitated, but the levitation of your actual physical body, I'm not buying that until I see it, till I experience it. So anyways, I went to sleep with this in mind, and in the early morning, I dreamt that I went home and that we walked along the street discussing levitation. It seemed to me that we were very good friends and talked as close friends would talk. And I said to him, by gosh, Home, you surely had the levitation act down. How did you do it? So that I can show people. And with this, I dreamed that Home gave me a demonstration, rising into the air and eventually coming back to Earth again. He explained to me just what to do, and unfortunately, I don't remember what he said. So anyways, I tried it, and the first attempt resulted in my landing upon my face on the sidewalk. I got up, and he instructed me again, and presently I realized that I was moving upwards through the air, and it felt very real, and instantly I became conscious and found myself projected. The dream aviation type having caused the projection. So what he's talking about here is that he studied this guy, D.D. Home, who talked about him being able to levitate. It has nothing to do with the dream per se. But the fact that he had the dream, that he was walking down the road and talking to this guy, and the guy's like, sure, man, I'll teach you how to levitate. So he knows he's dreaming. So he levitates in the dream. He starts to float up, right? So he levitates in the dream, while, just like he was talking about before, while you're in a dream state, if you feel like you're flying in the dream state, it will actually project your etheric double upwards or outwards. And I know this is weird. So we don't know where the dream world is. Like there's no physical location where or if we looked at it on a map of consciousness, where the hell would it be? We don't know. But we can map out the physical body. If you want to look at it in the esoteric Malkuth, the earth, whatever, we can map that out. We can map out that the etheric double comes up and starts to move around. Sometimes it'll fall on the floor or go sideways or get stuck to the ceiling or some crap like that. But the dream world, that's like the third stage. We don't know where that is. That's some other place. However, if you're flying in the dream world, a lot of times your etheric double, it'll either cause your etheric double to float or you're already floating. We want to get in the double, is what I'm saying, and then become conscious in that double. So, let's see. I went up the stairs and through the upstairs room and looked at the rest of the family as they lay asleep. So now he's out of body. He's watching his family sleep. Then I decided to go downstairs again and try to touch my physical body with my astral hand. This hand had been suggested to me by a friend for the purpose of finding out what sort of repercussion would be produced. But in this, I failed. For when I had advanced to within a distance of about 4 feet from my body, I lost control of myself and dropped into the physical. He got magnetized. He was too close to it. So I'm saying, like, if you get out of body, look at your physical body just for a second and get the hell away from it, because it's going to suck you back in like a vortex, right? So he laid there for some time, heard the clock strike 3, and finally drifted off to sleep again. And he said, later, I began to dream once more. This time, I dreamed that I was in the backyard of my home walking around. And I realized in the dream that I was dreaming, so he became lucid. This is a common occurrence after one has practiced dream control. There's a large 600-gallon oil tank against the house, and I walked up to this tank, took a monkey wrench, which was lying on it, and began to strike the tank with vigorous blows. And remember, I was still in a dream. The noise of the hammering seemed to startle me. It was so loud. And then I remember moving through the wall of the house and awakening in my physical body. Wow, okay. I heard the blows still resounding from the tank while fully conscious. 3 other people also testified that they heard the hammering on the tank, each one of these saying that it was exactly as if someone had been pounding upon it with a hammer, and were surprised at seeing nobody near it. So I got to ask you guys a question. Has this ever happened to you? because this has happened to me. Not in that sense, like someone hammering on something. So let's recap what he just said, because he throws a lot in like a paragraph. So he had a dream. He went to his backyard. There's a 600-gallon tank in his backyard. He hits it with a monkey wrench. It makes a loud noise. I don't know why he's hitting it, but he knows he's in a dream. He hits it enough that I guess he starts to realize he's in a dream. And as soon as he realized he was in a dream, next thing you know, he's moving through the walls and he's back in his body. Now, here's the weird thing. You remember how I was talking about the hypnagogic state as you fall asleep, as you're going to sleep? Well, there's also a hypnagogic state as you're awakening too. So that brief moment while you're going in and out of these conscious states, that hypnagogic state, in this place, this is where you can hear stuff like that. Here's where the trippier part gets trippier. Did I say that right? So not only did he hear the thing that he was hitting in his dream, other people heard it too. So does that mean that the dream world is really close to the astral world? Because for me, I've not heard stuff like that, but I've heard knocks. And we did shows on this, like 3 or 4 different shows on this. Triple knock. And it's creepy. I'm talking about loud knocks. Knocks like, you know, I wish I had something. I don't know if you could hear it, but like if somebody was at your door, almost like the damn police are knocking, you know? Just like that. And in my sleep, I would leap out of bed and run to the door. Nobody there. Now, when this first started happening to me, I thought, okay, well, maybe someone's playing a joke on me. Maybe it's some kids or something. This kept happening. Not night after night, but especially like in the morning. So I would sleep all night. And then the second time, it happened in the morning, right? A big loud knock, right? Like a loud, you can't, it's a reflex. When someone knocks like that, you go to the door. Loud enough to where I'm thinking, man, you know, who's doing this? Who's knocking at my door, waking me up? And this time I bolted to it. I made sure I got to it fast enough that there's no kid that could run. And even if they did, I stepped out, looked around the door, nothing. This is the second time it happened. Now, I talked to Dan Lopez about this. And we have talked about all kinds of different theories about what this is. Third time it happened. This time it happened at night. And this is what really tripped me out, because there ain't anybody around at night. Jessica Nicole says, I have a lot of nightmares and I'm about to go to a therapist. Yeah, you should go to a therapist for sure. But there's probably some inability to relax, something that you're dealing with. There's a thing called nightmare disorder. Have you heard of it? I didn't know there was a disorder. Let me finish this story and I'll talk about that, because I have experience with that too. Third, I promise I'll come back to it, because it's important, because that's suffering. If you're having nightmares every night, that's suffering. And I'm sorry. We're going to have to fix that, you know. So the third knock that I heard was at night. No one was around. This one was loud enough that I knew something was up. And this third one moved the damn door. Yeah? So the third time, boom, 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 boom. I get up, and I have a picture of that my grandmother gave me, which is another weird thing, of Christ knocking at the door that goes along with that verse in the Bible, you know. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. So I started thinking, but this time the door moved. Before I got to it, it just kind of, moved. And I thought, all right, someone hit the door for real. So there's some kids messing with me. Now, I'm not going to leave you standing on ceremony here. I'm going to land the plane. I still haven't figured out what it is, but it's one of two things, okay? It's not a physical person. I only hear it when I'm in transition from sleep to awake. All right. So it's loud enough. Either I'm doing it when I'm out of my body, which I don't know why the hell I would knock on the door to freak myself out. That doesn't make sense. And number two, I think it could be just a spirit or an astral being messing with me or rapping or something, you know. Some people have said that they hear those knocks when they get to a certain stage of spiritual development. That's all. These are just theories. Point being, not only have I heard these knocks, but you remember me telling you about hearing all the noises, like the cafeteria noises and stuff like that. And then here's Vuldoon talking about him banging on a barrel while he's dreaming, going back into his body. And not only did he hear the banging, other people in his house heard it. What does that tell you? Think about it. It tells you that the physical world and the metaphysical world, the dream world, these two worlds are a lot closer together. Don't think about it like a timeline or an onion. Think about it on an even deeper vibratory level. These two worlds are closer than we think. You've heard knocking too, Susie? Yeah, it's not nightmares. It's not scary. It's just a knock at the door, and it's loud, and it makes me run to the door. We should look this up, but let's go to Jessica's question about nightmare disorder. I want to look this up and see if I've ever heard of this before. I always just thought it was just people that had, I didn't know it was a disorder. Like, I just thought it was people that just had lots of nightmares, you know. I think is it called parasomnia? A type of sleep disorder that involves undesirable experiences that occur while you're falling asleep. During sleep or when you're waking up, nightmares usually occur during the stage of sleep known as rapid eye movement. The exact cause of the nightmares is not known. Look, anytime we get to that place where they say it's not known, better start looking at spiritual stuff. Most people have a nightmare every once in a while, but when nightmares occur regularly, it may be considered nightmare disorder. Nightmare disorder is considered a parasomnia, a type of sleep disorder that interferes with a person's sleep by creating abnormal or undesirable experiences. Okay, well, they don't know. So there's a couple of things you can do. Sudi says, I had horrific nightmares, not just regular ones, awful ones. Have you ever seen the Dream Police? Hell no, but I'd like to meet them. What the hell's the Dream Police? All right, so two things you could do with a nightmare disorder. You could smoke weed if you don't, and you won't dream, or do things not to dream, or two, realize that there's some kind of subconscious programming, which that's a good thing that you're going to therapy. But also remember, like, psychology is still a soft science, even though I believe in it wholeheartedly. Don't forget to be like in the spiritual too, because if you're doing spiritual work and psychological work, that's perfect. They go together perfectly. And if you're willing, here's the thing too, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. One of the things about nightmares, and the reason why we have nightmares, I think, is because there's a lot of unknowns that scare us. So maybe there's programs in the back of our mind all the time that are like fear programs. They could be death or things out of our control or just anxieties that we're not aware of. And two, anytime that we feel discomfort emotionally or even physically, we run from it. We don't deal with it. Or some people just say toughen up or whatever. And three, it's like maybe like a sense of isolation and loneliness too. Now, if you put all those things together, anxieties, fears, and stress, a feeling of isolation and loneliness, doesn't matter if you live with people or not. Some people feel alone even when they live with other people. And then a fear of the unknown too. a lot of times, in my experience, and this is just coming from relationships that I've been in. I used to sleep next to somebody that would just wake up in the middle of the night all the time, just freaking out, having nightmares all the time. This person was full of anxiety and stress. It was almost like they couldn't make up their mind about anything. They doubted everything they thought. They were easily influenced by everyone around them, constantly. Almost as if, and I'm not saying this is you, but I'm just saying some things about them, you know. They ran from things. They avoided conflict on the highest levels. Every level avoided conflict, right? So almost as if this person wasn't feeling good or happy or in the pink cloud all the time, they would just keep moving around until they felt that, or, you know, taking whatever drug or mushroom or whatever until they felt that pink cloud high vibration in the woke, you know. The rest of the everyday life and the shit that we have to deal with on the inside of us, no, wasn't a thing, you know. So I would say at the very least, there's probably, you probably don't have all that stuff, but at the very least, there's some anxieties there for sure. I think if you study anxiety, like on the deepest sense, and they'll probably talk to you about this in therapy after they ask you a million questions and well, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? And until they diagnose you and say, okay, well, you have some form of anxiety, probably some form of depression. But once you start getting comfortable and confident and the abilities like in your everyday life and in your personal relationships to deal with the unknown, or where you get to this place where you feel like you can just take on anything that comes your way, what'll start happening is you'll have the nightmare. And whatever's scaring you in the nightmare, you'll get so tired of it that you'll just face it down. It will come to that eventually. People can only suffer so long before they do something. I'm just saying. It says a background of psychology is sinister when you research certain psychologists. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, some psychologists, if you ever read Manly P. Hall, some psychologists aren't good for you. Matter of fact, the only therapist that I talk to, I make sure that they not only have a background in studying Carl Jung, not just Freud, but Carl Jung too, but also that they're like, you know, really into Carl Jung. And then I'll be like, all right, I'll work with this person. Yeah. They're just bonding in the chat. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Anything else I was supposed to go over, though? What was this? So see, like Gypsy Jenny's talking about, I've got ripped out of my sleep by the smell of smoke. I'd go around and at the house checking and we'll go outside. See, that's another weird thing. I heard that happens too in hypnagogia. Like you start smelling things. Hearing doors close. I've had people calling my name loud. Yeah, that's another one that's happened to me in hypnagogia. I've heard people yell my name. Like even one time I thought it was my grandmother. She had this like specific way that she yelled my name. Like Joseph, you know, like she would yell it real long, and I would hear that in my sleep and wake up and think, oh, you know, my grandmother's calling me. And I said, wait, she's not alive. That's weird, you know. Conscious Corey says, no doctor ever told me it was okay to not be okay. My post-traumatic stress disorder and nightmares lost their power over me once I started to write them down and I stopped expecting I find a way to make them stop. Or I stopped expecting to find a way to make them stop. Yeah, sometimes you have to tell yourself, dude, like, I'm not okay. I'm not good, and that's okay. I'm not super happy. I don't have everything under control. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's okay to be not okay, for sure. Let's see if what Vuldoon says about this though. So when you arouse the cryptoconscious, remember the cryptoconscious is like the subconscious will that is doing its own thing all the time, according to Vuldoon. But when you arouse the cryptoconscious will by way of the conscious will, you will find how difficult it is and how hard you must work to exert your conscious will, to the point often when you throw up the sponge. That is why you do not attain a thing often until you cease your efforts and give up trying. This also happens in manifestation and magic too. I remember when I was talking about magic a lot and people would send me messages and ask me to do like rituals and spells and stuff for them. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like number one, if you're asking other people to do like rituals and spells to manifest stuff for you, you already have like a deep lust for the result anyways. And that lust for the result is always going to keep you in that lusting, longing stage. Anyways. So then the crypto conscious will, that superior will, gets a chance to work on the stresses or the stress, and that which you had given up trying to attain materializes. Exactly. Yeah. So this works both in the dream and astral world and in magic. It works the same way. The passive will method arouses the crypto conscious will much more easily. That is why the passive will method of projection of the astral body often succeeds when the active will method does not. Repetition, of course, or making a habit is another way for arousing the crypto-conscious will. But the way in which the force is manipulated by the crypto-conscious will is what we do not know, or how the crypto-conscious works, or how the crypto-conscious will gets hyper-positive, while working within itself is another mystery. But when it does, or when it gets hyper-positive by working upon an impression from another department of the mind, the force it manipulates becomes solid. Well, that's cool if you're banging on the drum, right? If he's banging on the drum in his dream and it's making this stuff happen. But what about like my experience? What about the experience that other people are talking about in the chat? So far, we've got knocks, we've got doors, smells, sounds, noises, things like that happen in the hypnagogic state that nobody knows what the hell it is, but you could hear it clearly or smell it. I don't think I've ever smelled anything. That's weird. So in many respects, Vuldoon says, our minds or our wills, force, and control function in the same manner when we are in coincidence as with the body as they do when we're out of body. Notice that the astral somnambulism and physical somnambulism, what he says, I hate why, that's a stupid word. Just call it sleepwalking. I'm just going to say sleepwalking every time I read somnambulism. Notice that astral sleepwalking and physical sleepwalking are just alike. Why is that? There's an astral body, levitation, and there's a physical body, levitation, both horizontal when the body floats about in the air. I don't know about that one. So there's a vertical levitation when the body rises straight up into the air. Now, D.D. Home is said to have floated in his physical body out of one window and into another, 70 feet from the ground, in the presence of 3 eyewitnesses who were the Earl of Dunraven, Lord Lindsay, and Captain Wynne, all men of honor and well repute. So that's all they got. 3 dudes said, man, this guy floated from one window to another. Wallace called this a modern miracle. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle has stated that Holmes' performance had much to do with his interest in the occult. Sir William Crookes witnessed many of Holmes' singular levitations. Schrenck Notzing at the last Psychic Congress read a paper concerning a young man in Germany who had practiced yoga and had been levitated physically some 27 times. What? Anybody here have like any, I mean, I'm not going to judge you, but if you have experience with levitation, please let me know. I will smell burning tobacco, and I haven't smoked in a decade when I'm in the paralysis or hypnagogic. Yeah, hey, you know what? Now that you bring that up, there was a time My grandmother used to, a lot of this stuff goes back to my grandma. I don't know why, but my grandmother used to smoke these cigarettes called Cambridge cigarettes. I don't think they even make them anymore. That's what she smoked. And I remember being in the hypnagogic state a couple of times and like could smell her, like what it would smell like when she would light that cigarette up. Vuldoon goes on to say, think of the energy which the crypto-conscious mind must be manipulating in order to cause the mass of the physical body to float. Now take this same energy and imagine how easily it could be to manipulate the astral body, which probably weighs 1,000 times less than the physical. When the crypto-conscious will gets into an active mood and the subject is free from his physical body, he will move as that will moves him. And it is not unusual to bound here and there, unable to put the brakes on the controlling power. The brakes, of course, represent the conscious will. So here again, we're talking about astral sleepwalking and physical sleepwalking. That crypto-conscious will that moves a sleepwalker. There are, if you're listening to this program and you're just tuning in, I know this is weird, but there are more instances of us astral sleepwalking, far more than there is of us actually being conscious and out of body. Matter of fact, most of us that haven't, or most of you that haven't experienced an out of body experience, is simply just that. You go out of body every night. Your etheric double moves out of coincidence with your physical body, and then you slip into a dream. The only thing is you could catch yourself consciously. Most of the time you'll do it in the dream state where you become lucid. But do you ever feel that weird falling feeling, or when you're coming back to this awake place, like from dream to awake, all the weird stuff that happens, all the weird feelings? You're actually coming from the dream world back into your etheric, back into coincidence with your physical. And I'm glad Vuldoon talks about all this so it can be understood. What I'm trying to do is get people to go from laying down into a relaxed state into peeling themselves out of their physical body without ever losing consciousness or slipping into a dream state or anything like that, so that you can experience the whole ride. Like you could just sit up, look at yourself sleeping, move around in your etheric double, walk around a bit, and either go back to your body or fly around, and either go back to your body or go into a dream. Or if you're really comfortable and already well spiritually developed, go into whatever place you want to go. But until that happens, the only astral stuff that you're actually doing is astral sleepwalking. So most of you know, and I'm sure some of you know, some physical sleepwalkers. What's up, Domek? I got to hear about these dream police, man. One of these days. I will smell burning tobacco, and I haven't smoked in a decade when I'm in the paralysis, a hypnagogic state. Yeah. My granny did Benson Hedges, and that's the smell. That's cool. One time I was wide awake, and the vibrating felt like this intense energy tunneling up through my back, up to my chest, and I was floating back to my bed through a wall. I was not lucid until that moment, and it was intense. Yeah, you were catching yourself there, right? So far, has any of you actually just laid there and done the work and got to the vibratory state yet? Just not getting out of body, but at least got to that paralysis vibrating state. See, I don't know about you, but I'll get paralyzed first. So I'll get to where I can't feel my body and can't move it unless I really try, and then the vibrations start. Yeah, who are these dream police, man? We need to talk about this. But from here on out, we're going to call what I just called the mystery of the knock. And apparently I'm not the only one. Either me or Dan and some people in the chat have experience this knocking too. I know it's not me. And Delina says, I did and chickened out. So you got paralyzed and you felt the vibration and you got scared. No, that's cool. At least you got to that point. That's really cool, actually. That means you're getting somewhere. Never. It always happens naturally, and I put in hours and hours of effort. I've had crazy dreams about Dad recently. I need to tell you about it. I hate having my limbs fall asleep. No, it's cool. I like it. Gypsy Jenny says, I like how you raised your hand. That's cool. I get to the vibratory state and that's about it. No, that's cool. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that. Don't stop. Because you're starting to feel right. And matter of fact, if you get to the vibratory state and you're starting to get there, I would look into Robert Bruce's astral dynamics, because you need to start enhancing that energy more and more. And he has all these like exercises that you can do to enhance your subtle body so it'll come out easier. Conscious Corey says, I think the knocking is the vibration. At least with me, it was like a loud rumbling or knocking. Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about this dream police. We got to do a whole freaking show about that. All right, the sex of the astral body. What is it with the astral people and sex, right? I have been asked on several occasions, even by spiritists who should know better, whether or not one retains his organs of sex in the astral body. And Vuldoon says with an exclamation point, certainly. And after all I have said concerning the exact duplication of the counterparts, it seems almost a waste of time to go into this matter. But I will repeat again. The astral counterpart is the exact duplicate of the physical body in every center and cell. Well, the etheric double is. Yeah. I think we've evolved past that understanding, though. We know that the physical body is shaped, is affected by physical laws to which we must conform. Now, with this being true, and the astral being an exact duplicate of this physical, it's apparent that the physical body gives the astral body its true form. For aught we know, this may be the purpose of the physical body, to shape our spirit. That's interesting. I never thought of that. Christ said, quote, the body is the temple of the spirit, end quote. Andrew Jackson Davis seems to have had a similar idea, for in the Harmonial Philosophy he wrote this, quote, man's body is the fruition of all organic nature, and the spirit body is formed by the outer body. The physical body is the focal concentration of all substances. The spirit is the organic combination of all forces. The representation of every particle of matter is ultimately made by man. The body of spirit is a result brought out by physical organization. I do not mean that the spirit is created, but that its structure is formed by means of the external body. Now that would make sense in the deepest sense of energetic alchemy, because if you really get into alchemy on an energetic level, it's almost as if that's exactly what's happening. You know, you're doing the whole trying to marry the two forces that are inside you together when you come in contact with your physical self, or purifying the vessel, so to speak, of your physical body, allowing the higher self to come in, and then it forms. It's almost like your physical body is the molding for your spirit. That would be cool, but I don't know if that's true. It's a cool theory, though. What's up, Dan? Glad you made it, brother. Quote, the mind itself is not a creation or ultimation of matter, but mental organization is a result of material refinement. The use of a physical bone is to make a spiritual bone. Of the physical muscle is to make a spiritual muscle, not the essence, but the form. The physical ear is animated by a spiritual ear. In a word, the whole outward body is a representation of that which is imperishable, end quote. Wouldn't that be cool if that was true, though? Like the whole purpose of being human, first and foremost, is to experience all of these limitations, but to grow a spirit, so to speak, out of the soil of our body. Where have I heard that before? To individuate through this organic matter. Again, Davis says, quote, spirit is substance, and although not unlike matter, it obeys the law of gravity. Every person's experience is a complete demonstration that spirit is substance, because in each of us, it moves the body from place to place. It can even move without thinking, because the hidden spirit principle is composed of all vital forces. Man's spirit demonstrates its own sustainability by means of its own normal manifestations. Dude, what is going on? You see this? This bothers me. I got like mud hair, so my hair turns all different colors. I'm gonna have to shave off this mustache because no matter how I trim it, I always get darker hair right here. I get like this Hitler thing going, and I fucking hate it, man. And I've tried to, but I'm looking at the YouTube thing, and I have a Hitler. You probably didn't even notice it till I pointed at it, but it's driving me nuts. So I got darker hair right here, and then this is like red and blonde. The hell? Okay. Again, Davis says spirit is substance, although not unlike matter, it obeys the laws of gravity. And although the spirit of man has substance and weight, it has elasticity, divisibility, and the several ultimate qualifications and properties of matter. Yet, as just indicated, it obeys laws which are superior to ordinary gravitation and the known physical forces. The truth is that man's being is duplex. He has 2 eyes, 2 brains, 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 sides to the lungs, and the human heart is double, and so is each part of the system. I wonder if that goes into that whole, like, the twin kind of theory. I mean, that's probably a whole other show, but let's see. Yeah, you see my Hitler. Now you see it that I've pointed it out. I'm gonna have to figure out something, or maybe I should get some cocoa bean and change all this like blonde and stuff to dark, so it all comes out dark. Because I always wanted like a, what do you call it, a Tom Selleck mustache. He had such a beautiful mustache. So if a spirit's organism is substance, then as substance, it weighs something. And when it escapes from the material body, the spiritual body does not weigh more than the 16th of a pound, but it continues to absorb the elements of the invisible air until it becomes comparatively weighty, acquiring not only a power of gravitation, but also a power to overcome it. Spiritual doctrine teaches that the innermost man is a spirit which flows through our nerve sensations, which thinks and reasons, feels better, nobler, pure emotions than forms, forces, and things around it, which teaches intellect and heart to recognize something higher than the fleeting circumstances whereunto it is harnessed. It is the invisible presence of the divine in the visible human. That's a lot. It's a lot to say. So there you have Davis's idea of the interrelation of the physical body and the astral counterparts. The physical body is affected as to its form by physical laws. If then the astral body be an exact duplicate, it must also be affected as to its form by the same physical laws. Be that as it may, the theory would not account for the shape and form of a being who died before maturity, so we must accept the theory that a being can also be shaped in the astral, independent of the physical. Yeah, and another thing about that, too, is like, I remember hearing William Buhlman start, like, as he got out of body a whole lot, he remembers, you got to read his books. If you're going down this whole astral travel thing, you gotta read William Buhlman's books. But he started realizing, hey, I'm probably not even this shape. And then he would get even in higher awareness, and he started to form like a star of light. He just became this ball of light eventually. Took him a while to get there, though. Yeah. We got to do the top of the hour thing, pay the bills for fringe.fm. Hey, you guys, you know what would be cool? Would really be cool? You know, especially if you can't support the show monetarily, which, by the way, we need your support if you can. But if you can't, do me a favor. Go to fringe.fm, go to the dedications form or the dedications page, and just use it. Like, is there a song you want to hear? Is there a subject that you want to hear? You can dedicate music to certain people, songs, subject matter, whatever. Just use the thing. I'm testing that plug-in to see how good it works. So far, one other person besides my son has tested it. Please go to fringe.fm and leave a dedication. I said it. All right. 4 minutes. Yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah. Burn this mustache is what I'm going to do.
Is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy, and I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much, from the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. It really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years.
Wait,
and who do you
what?
talk to?
No, we
you
gotta
can't
talk
go to
about that.
conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Root. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
That's a chance we're taking. Leave your reason at the door, 'cause the writing's on the wall. The sunshine's gone. Maybe it's too soon to go, but we've both been here before, so I'm waiting on.
All right, so welcome back to Lighting the Void Live. If you're listening on Fringe.fm, cool. Thanks for listening on the radio station. I don't give you guys enough props. I really don't. I feel bad. Let's see. Let me give you a shout out real quick. Got to. Halloween's coming up, right? And by the way, I made sure, Jane, that we licensed that track right there, Bend and Break by FM 84 and Ollie Ride. We had to pay extra money to license that track, but since it's a station favorite, we did it. So we can play it on YouTube too as well. Huh? What do you think about that? Or we're supposed to. They might still give me crap. You never know. All right. Conscious Corey, have you restructured the God helmet, sir? You need to talk to us, man. Like, you need to come on the show, or you need to do something, anything. Because I want to do that, man. I want to like experience this whole God helmet thing, like big time. You're welcome, Jane. I love that song too. Some songs are worth licensing. That's what I'm saying, man. If you guys put in your requests on the station, you never know what we'll do for you. So, all right, here we go. Back into what Vuldoon is saying. So Vuldoon is talking about how that our bodies actually structure our astral body, not the same, not like the other way around, which is a theory. I mean, I don't know if I want to go too deep into that, but it's a cool theory. But he's going to get into the composition of the astral body. It feels like Vuldoon feels like he's like the astral professor, doesn't it? So he says, another question which is frequently asked by me, is by many of those who have heard of my out-of-body experience, is this. Quote, of what is the astral body composed? And when I confess that I do not know, they never fail to sneer at me. However, the fact that I do not know the composition of my astral body should in no way discredit what I have said concerning it. The truth is that I do not even know the composition of my physical body. Well, I like the honesty, sir. That helps. You know. Let's see. And I have had infinitely more opportunity to study it than I have my astral body. Just why an astral projector whose trips in the astral are brief should be expected to solve every mystery, to explain everything which is unknown, is surely a greater mystery still, especially when, quote, spirit scientists who return do not tell us these things, even after they have been on the astral plane for years. I guess back in the 20s, people weren't telling them shit. They didn't have YouTube, though, did they? So no, indeed, the fact that I cannot explain the composition of the astral body should not discredit one single thing I've said concerning it. It has been one of my greatest disappointments that I have not been able to discover what the astral body is composed of. But then it appears that no one else knows it either. Some refer it to as a fluidic double. Lodge says it's an etheric double. I say it's an etheric double too. The common belief is that it is not unlike matter, the difference being only in the arrangement of its atoms. And this has always been my idea too. Read what Dr. Henry Lindlar has said concerning it. Quote, "This life force is the primary source of all energy, from which all other kinds and forms of energy are derived. It is independent of the body and of food and drink, as the electric current is independent of the glass bulb and the carbon thread through which it manifests as heat and light. The breaking of the incandescent bulb, though it extinguishes the light, does not in any way diminish the amount of electricity behind it. In a similar manner, if the physical body falls dead, as we say, the vital energy keeps on acting with undiminished force through the spiritual material body, which is an exact duplicate of the physical body, but whose material atoms and molecules are infinitely more refined and vibrate at an infinitely greater velocity than those of the physical material body. This is not merely a matter of speculative reasoning, but a demonstrated fact of natural science." How is that a demonstrated fact of natural science? That's a heavy statement. I mean, if you could have stopped there, but I don't think any scientist has proven that. Ever, you know. So let's say, ever. So when St. Paul said, "There's a natural body and there's a spiritual body," he stated an actual fact in nature. Indeed, it would be impossible to conceive of the survival of the individual after death without some sort of material body to serve as a vehicle for consciousness, memory, and the reasoning faculties, and as an instrument for physical functions. Therefore, if survival of the individual after death be a fact in nature, and if the achievement of immortality be a possibility, a spiritual material body is a necessity. Sir Oliver Lodge says that the substance of the spiritual body is ether. This is to me unthinkable. The ether is impalpable and omnipresent. It is, as far as science now knows, the primordial universal element which permeates and enters into the composition of all matter. But ether alone does not and cannot constitute matter. The atoms of various elements are made up of negative electrical charges, or electrons, whirling around positive centers. This is no doubt true of spiritual matter as well as physical matter. The only difference between the two is that the atoms and molecules of spiritual matter are infinitely more refined and vibrate at higher velocities than the atoms of physical matter. How the hell do you know that? Like, I mean, I get it. It does feel like that when you vibrate and you go into the astral realm and all that stuff. It definitely feels like that. But these guys are stating this, man, like it's fact. Like it's a scientific fact. And that cannot be so. Because there's no way to measure that. Even to this day. The sensory organs of the spiritual body are attuned to these higher and finer vibrations. Therefore, spiritual matter is to spiritual sight and touch just as real and substantial as physical matter is to our physical sensory organs. Now, from the foregoing arguments, we conclude that modern science verifies the wisdom of Pythagoras, who taught 2,500 years ago that all matter is made up of three elements: substance, motion, and numbers. According to modern science, the substance of Pythagoras corresponds to the universal ether, motion to electricity, and numbers to the number of electrons vibrating in the atom and to the number of atoms in the molecule. That is Dr. Lindler's view of the composition of the astral body. Now, although at the present time, the exact composition of the astral body is not known with certainty, most occultists are of the opinion that the time is near at hand when science will solve this interesting problem conclusively. But it will have to be solved in the laboratory, and not, as many think, by a mere astral projector just examining it while consciously projected. This would be as impossible as it would have been to solve the nature of the physical body merely by observing and feeling the physical body. Yeah, so here's your answer to that question, Vuldoon. No, science still hasn't taken this seriously. It's 100 years from when you wrote this book. And we have institutes, we have people on YouTube that have their own stuff, people that sell their own digital downloads and courses, and we've got a couple of TV channels that talk about it. We don't have any real scientific laboratories doing any studies on this stuff 100 years after you wrote this book. Sorry to tell you. It's very sad. Very sad. Let's see. Conscious Corey says, man, I'll call and tell my story, Joe, but listen, I'll answer questions on Discord, but I want to tell you about this entity I met with the helmet. Man, do it. Yeah, dude. I'm down to listen. Let's see. Did someone call already and I missed it? Call back. I didn't hear it ring. I gotta switch this up every single night for some reason to even hear the damn thing ring. I got a call from where did I get a call from? I'm calling you back. Watch this be like a bill collector or something.
I'll get back to you.
Oh no, that's you. That sounds like a dude. Did I just call you back, Corey? Damn. Call back. Knock, knock. Or is it you, Word Salad? Is that you? I'm going to call you again one more time.
Corey's phone, leave me.
Nah, it's Corey. All right. You must have it on like do not disturb at this time. Call me, dude. Tell me about this entity. I missed it. Matter of fact, let me set the ringing up. I have the ringer where I should be able to hear it. Why the hell I didn't hear it? God, I miss the old phone system that we used to have, man. It was so beautiful. Such a beautiful thing. All right. A few years ago, the International Convention of Spiritualists at Paris. There we go. I think I got you now. Do I got you now, Corey?
Yeah, it was the do not disturb.
Yeah. You might get a little feedback. I apologize about that, but in order to get your voice into the station and on YouTube, it's going to sound like that. So,
right on. Well, I was just going to say, so it was for the people who want to ask questions. I'll go ahead and get in the Discord if you want to know. I'll see if I can like send some files that I have to whomever's interested and just like whatever build projects I'll just send you diagrams and everything. But anyway, so I just wanted to share this experience with the God helmet. For people who don't know, essentially in the right hemisphere of your brain, you can use electromagnetic pulses to disrupt the binding frequency. I look at it as kind of like if you look at consciousness as not a local phenomenon, so your body's just kind of an antenna for picking you up.
Right.
It disrupts the IP address going to your body.
Oh, cool.
Right. And so hear me out. I got into looking for answers to big questions after I had a near-death experience, and that led me to Michael Persinger's God Helmet, because I had a really unique experience with that near-death experience. And what happened, though, is when I died that time, I was very afraid. And I had resolved in my seeking that I have to nail down what happens, because I cannot die afraid again, because it's not a good experience.
Okay.
And so as I tuned in my helmet this one day, I realized that I can feel myself start to. I felt and this is I'm gonna sound like a total basket case, and I assure you,
not here.
I question myself. So it is what it is. It's gonna sound basket casey until you do it yourself. But listen, I felt myself begin to my consciousness evaporate into the field of consciousness that makes up everything. Okay, this is a big idea here. But listen, when that started to happen, I became afraid, and I said, "Oh no, it's happening again. I'm going to be afraid when it happens again. I cannot be afraid." Right? And when I said that to myself, I decided I would not be afraid. And when I decided that, I got, and this is all internal monologue stuff. I say to myself, I'm the one down here doing all of the work. I'm not going to be afraid of this. If this is the truth, I'm not going to be afraid of this or anything like it ever again. And the second I started doing that, I could hear what sounded, and it was audible to me, but like a marching drum, right? And this is going to sound crazy, okay? And there was a chant that was coming from off in the distance. And I'm trying to make out and understand, because there's a lot of physical sensations going on with the evaporating into the field. At the same time, I see this entity approaching me, and it's approaching me, and it's saying this: I am one with the power of the universe. I am free in the power of the universe. Always be in the power of the universe. Look and see what is the power of the universe. And it's repeating it as it's walking up to me, and I'm hearing this drum beat as it's coming up. Yeah, and so when it fully arrives in front of me, I can only say that my consciousness did the best it could do to show me an angel, right? But it was nothing like an angel and anybody would have described to you. But this is just word vomit for what I can articulate, because it really was an ineffable experience. It was this great source of energy, and the presence that it gave to me was that it was something that has always been within it's hard to describe this again. It's always been around me, and that it was an energy that looks out for me. For example, is part of the reason I made it through my near-death experiences.
Bro, can you tell me what happened? I mean, we got time. I'd love to talk to you about this, man. I really would. What happened, bro?
The near-death experience?
Yeah, what happened? If you don't mind me asking.
Okay, let me see, because I want to be safe for your sponsors and everything. I had a bad interaction of nootropic supplements, okay? I had struggled for some time with using less than favorable substances in my life, and it had been some time that they'd been out of there, but I had entered a period of really depression, and it just didn't seem like I could find a way out. So I started exploring
I've done the same thing, bro. Nootropics. I even did speed, modafinil, mushrooms. I know what that feels like.
Exactly. Okay, so they had one called Phenibut and another one. I shouldn't say the names, huh? I don't want anybody to try this.
I understand.
Let me just say that.
This is not. This is by no means a health advice or any shit like that. So don't.
Yeah. No, nobody should ever that's honestly let's be real. Holistic stuff's great, but there's nobody checking up on them for the claims that they make and everything. So it's the Wild West, and you're putting your body up as collateral for results that you don't know you're going to get. Anyway, So results I didn't know I was going to get. I mixed a couple of them up. Of course, me being as brilliant as I am, I ordered some extremely potent ones from another country, and so I woke up, and this is the weirdest thing, is that I couldn't breathe, and I woke up because I was suffocating.
Damn.
And when I woke up, I realized that there was foam coming out of my nose and my mouth. And now I've had friends pass away from acute opioid intoxication before, and I remember hearing that once you have the foam, that that's not something you recover from. You can't aspirate on vomit and come back from that. And somehow I did, because
That must have
when
been
I
so
woke up,
fucking scary,
I was
dude. God.
aspirating, and so then I black out. All I remember is this, and this is going to sound crazy, Joe. Okay, so I'm facing a hallway when I pass out, right? Or die, rather, right? I'm facing a hallway. All I remember in the time between waking up and dying was terrifying. I'm terrified, and I'm trying to stop my foot, and I'm screaming "mommy," and I can't get it out of my mouth. Imagine how terrified you must be for that experience to happen, right? So you can imagine my drive to never experience something like this again. I'm trying to call out for my mommy. I don't even have a relationship like that with my mommy. You know what I'm saying? So,
do you know that's the same thing that happens to soldiers in battle too? Like when they
really?
Yeah, dude, that's not an uncommon thing when people are dying. They call out for that ultimate, like, feminine nurturing love, which there's no other human word for it. I've done it before when I was having that panic disorder, and my mom died. I didn't have a relationship with my mother, but it scared the hell out of me so bad. That's the only word that could come out, you know.
Yeah, but like that, the thing is, my relationship with my mom is really. I'm not going to go into that with you, but like, it really. Let's just say I told you about the addiction stuff, so you can put two and two together how I got there, right? Anyway, so I was really surprised that was what I was calling out, you know. But that was a big part of the motivation. I need to get to the bottom. Like, I cannot die like that again. I do not want to be calling for her at that last moment again. Do you know what I mean?
Understood. Yeah.
So the last thing I remember between waking up and this was there was a light that came shining down the hallway that I was facing, and this is gonna sound suspect, but there was a man who walked out, and he was burly, and he was relatively short. I'm 6'4", so he was shorter than me, right? And he was burly. And he didn't have a shirt on, and I didn't question it, so I was out of it. And he picked me up, and he hugged me, and he sat me on my couch, and he said, "It's gonna be okay. You just made a mistake. It's gonna be okay, though.
Huh.
Everything's gonna be all right."
Did you
and
feel
then
better when he said that?
I could hear. The next thing I know, I hear the garbage truck outside of my house. Now, keep in mind, garbage was 3 days after I had taken the substance.
Holy shit.
So I had been in my house out for 3 days. I come to, and because the garbage man's picking up. Now, this is even terrifying. I had to Kill Bill, wiggle my toe kind of a thing to get my nervous system back online for me. I literally had to drag myself down my hallway to the bathroom and throw myself in hot and cold water. I was alternating between the two to get my
stimulate everything
to come back on, just so I could move and stuff. So it was really bad. But I'd really gone without oxygen for quite a long time. But here's the weird part, Joe. The hallway that I was facing when I died was definitely built onto the other side of my house when I came to. So I'm facing from the couch. You can see down this hallway, right? And now when I come to, there's no hallway right there. That's on the other side of my house. And there is a map in my living room of the globe. It's like, one of these like ornate gold leaf maps of the world that I would never shell out. I love geography, brother, but I would never shell out $300 for a map of the globe on my living room wall. I'm not that fancy, And,
Dude, you want to hear something
that's
weird?
on my
I
wall.
have one of those on my wall.
Are you serious?
I'm not. I'll show it to you, bro. I will send you the picture of it.
Well, I wasn't being critical. I wasn't being critical of it. The thing was nice, but it wasn't mine. Is what I'm saying.
I think I know exactly.
But, like,
it's a gold. Mine's a gold map, like of art of the world.
The countries are all made of gold, right?
Yeah. It's on my wall.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So that's a synchronicity. So you know that I'm not bullshitting you right now. But anyways, so hear me out. Okay, so this experience happens, right? And, like, I want to tell you, I'm an atheist as of that day, right? And now I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Only thing I was certain of is that I've had my head up my ass for 40 years because I don't know what's going on. And so I start seeking, and that seeking takes me into a lot of different directions. But I will tell you this, a year to the day later, my girlfriend, she is a medical professional of 17 years in a trauma unit. And I was sitting on my bed one day about a year after this event happened, right? And I had cerebral spinal fluid gush out of my nose. And she knows that because she did what's called a halo test. And essentially, because I said it's not snot, it had a very weird kind of sticky, almost like scratchy substance or texture to it. And I was worried because it came blasting out of my face, right?
Oh, God, dude, this is trippy.
Within 48 hours of that happening, I realized that it was what people called a Kundalini awakening. But mine was totally unexpected, totally not worked for. None of that. And I would not recommend even a person who is intentionally trying to have a Kundalini awakening, because it, for all intents and purposes, I think it put me in some sort of ontological shock, but that probably looked like spiritual psychosis. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, I have to consider all of this stuff because I didn't know this layer of consciousness is accessible to me, that is now accessible to me. It has since passed, and I'm very grateful for that. But suffice to say, let's get back to the guide helmet, because this is what I was worried about. I yammer on too much. I got a
No, dude, this is
great.
years. This is the most intense thing I've ever heard, actually.
I have witnesses this whole way.
So
like,
can you explain to me real quick?
this.
Just kind of go back. Like, you said that. Tell me. I'm trying to understand the house thing. Like, did the house switch? Did it shift? Did you move?
So I was living in a duplex. Okay, so this is how you can gauge this. I was living in a duplex, and now I live on the other side of the duplex.
Yeah. What the fuck?
So when I died, I lived on the left side of the duplex. When I came back, I lived on the right side of the duplex.
What, bro?
Yeah. And like I said, then a year later, I had this Kundalini experience, right? And this all gets tied into the God helmet thing, okay? Because when I have this experience that I was telling you about, the entity that I encountered with the God helmet,
yeah,
the best way I can describe it would say magicians that talk about the holy guardian angel, right? It's something along those lines, though I'm not going to be I'm not psychosis-y enough to try and be deterministic about it anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't know how to describe it beyond. It may have been, if it was an entity it lives independently of me. It lives outside of our space and time, and it looks out for me. If it was part of me, it's part of the architecture of me, but it is something deep down in the bones it's very spiritual. I really don't know how else to describe it than that. But suffice to say, what happens is when I'm talking to this entity, right, I make the declaration that I don't want to be afraid of this. I'm the one down here doing all the work, and I never want to be afraid of anything like this ever again, right? This entity approaches me, and then the entity tells me that it essentially says, yeah, you see that you're telling yourself that I'm an angel. Well, there are methods of developing a relationship and uncovering the truth of our relationship. But you will question it and you will doubt it unless you find a teacher of X, Y, and Z. It doesn't really matter so long as you put all of yourself into it, check all of the boxes, and if that program is designed to bring about spiritual enlightenment, and it does, we'll meet again.
Wow.
And that was the last experience that I had. And let me tell you, I woke up from that experience and I was literally weeping. Like I was weeping. I had never when it was right in front of me, my whole body was vibrating to like I said, I thought I was going to disappear into the fabric of reality. It was so intense, but the feeling was pure, loving, warm ecstasy, just like pure love. I was like, what was that, right? And so ever since that happened, I actually have stopped using the helmet for the most part. There's a good string of me trying to get back to finding it again, but it specifically told me what I needed to do to get back to it. And I've been throwing myself headfirst into projects that, projects.
You don't have to talk about them.
About.
You don't have to talk about them. I feel like I feel like I had the same kind of, not to that extent, but when I was doing the out of body stuff, I was still doing hermetic magic at the same time. The whole idea of purifying the vessel, the four elements, and then allowing it to come in during alchemy, the 3 stages of the mysteries, whatever. But I was trying to force myself out of body so hard that half of me came up, and I said, I demand you to release me by light and life. And I've told the story before, and that voice that came out of me was so rumbly, dude. It was so powerful that it freaked out these things that were hovering above me. I don't know what the hell they were, but they were kind of blobbish, and they kind of shoved me back in. Almost, I felt this kind of weird, oh shit, don't do that, and they just shoved me back in, But when you were talking about that, that made me think of that, just for a moment. I felt some kind of a connection with something, just for a little bit,
I think I had a similar experience with a certain Esseniogen popularized these days, and I had an experience with that. And when I popped through into whatever that dimension, I don't know where you go, but when I popped through to that layer of consciousness, I was surrounded by these entities. But they said, this is the weird part. That's why I call myself Corey Smiles sometimes, is that there's a bunch of these smiles. They were just mouths smiling at me, and they spun around me and they said, it's you, it's you. It's Smiles, your Smiles. And that freaked me out so bad, I jumped right back into my body.
Man, so for all intents and purposes, there's a possibility that you died and came back, not just to a different timeline, but I don't know how to explain it.
Want to know this is the part, I wish my girlfriend was here, because she would tell you too, the night and day experience. Okay, so when I died, I was depressed, obviously, because I was making the attempts with substances. I was, but dude, happy words didn't come out of my mouth. I lived a pretty traumatic life up to that point. All I could do was live in post-traumatic memories. I was just so unhealthy. I would say promiscuous sexually, trying to not feel the feelings that I didn't want to feel,
Mm-hmm.
That day, from that day forward, I found love for myself. I was not able to eat meat. Not only not able to eat meat, but it grossed me out. The concept of eating meat grossed me out. And that's something I didn't expect. I can't drink alcohol. I can't take drugs. I can't even smoke, the legal stuff, right? because it is I immediately get a feeling of like I'm out of control.
Yeah,
And
I know what you're
and
talking
before
about.
it gave me a feeling of being in control.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Yeah, so like, and that's the thing. My girlfriend says that's the only thing, because she's a tried and true skeptic. I wouldn't say she's more of a cynic, but she's a skeptic, right? And she says that the personality change is the thing that makes her believe it more, of my experience, because she can't see the stuff that I was seeing and stuff like that, right? But she says she's never seen somebody just stop in one day, all of the bad habits, usually
it takes
knock
like
a
a
few off
ibogaine
every
treatment
couple years.
or two of people to do like ibogaine a couple of times for that to even be a possibility,
Right.
So something rewired you on the way back.
Yeah, but and I think it really had to do with that Kundalini experience, man, because like that was so unexpected, man. It was just so unexpected, and like I said, like there's guys on TikTok that are trying to tell you how to have that happen. Bro, do not learn how to have a Kundalini awakening from TikTok. Like, don't do it. You don't understand what it's like walking around for a year with all of your trauma on every chakra at the surface every time you leave your house.
Right. And like, every book that I've read, from wise, I would even say philosophers to occultists to mystics, like the wisest ones that I've read have all said that. Like, this is a dangerous thing to try to speed up. I had
kind of a low self-worth for a long time, but I think maybe of all things in my life, the fact that I was able to ground myself and like I'm able to have like a clear conversation about what happened with you without going into, let's just call it what it is, like woo-woo cosplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with myself, because for a while there I was like, am I in, like, did I just lose my, like, did I just Carl Jung myself? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, you might have, dude, but the whole thing about landing in some, this is a weird thing, man. I think you're an OG void walker. Like, I would say kind of like Gareth, if you're facing down these things, or you had no choice, or you faced them, then you come back and like, how are you going to explain this to everybody's trying to find a formula to understand this? And what you went through, there's 4 or 5 different things that could be going on at once here.
Yeah. You know what I would say too is like, because I was just telling my girlfriend this the other day, I said, I think that everybody at some point in time in their life should, whether they mean to or not, end up in a fist fight that they can't get out of by talking about it, just because it'll teach you, like, if it's going to go that way, it's going to go that way. So, like, it's better to stand and face it. Do you know?
Yeah.
And that's just how I'm built. I want to stand and face it. I don't want to cower. I don't want to hide from it. I want to stand and face it. And especially since I got another chance to, you better believe I'm going to figure it out. Like, if there's somebody that's going to do it, I will be. I mean, it's my purpose. I know that. I also have a purpose now too. It's given me this purpose to do this.
I'm still tripping on the fact that you're on a different duplex.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing too. When all this stuff happened, and I would warn people too. Like, when all this stuff happened, there's so many charlatans, and there's some well-meaning ones who I think they believe what they're talking about, and there's other ones that really are there to capitalize on people when they're having these moments where reality is
shifting on them. Yeah.
It's not a solid material yet.
Yeah.
And that is such a difficult thing to maneuver in Western society. If I had been born in India, they would have set me up. You know what I mean? They would have set me up with a place to do what I needed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like having it happen here, I'm like turning to TikToks, and it was just, man. I'm just grateful to be.
I'm glad you're saying that
today.
thing about the Kundalini experience, because, like, and that's a hidden thing in alchemy where they talk about how dangerous it is. This is like a dangerous thing, or even in Eastern mysticism, if you really study it. And then I talked to all these people that are like, oh, I had the Kundalini awakening once, and I'm like, man, I don't want to doubt what you're saying, but it takes a lot of spiritual preparation to have a balanced Kundalini awakening without it affecting you in a major way, like,
Yeah,
and
I
if you're
can say
trying
that
to
I've
force
never
it to
met
happen,
anybody else who I think I could qualify. I'm not here to judge anybody's
Sure.
else's experience, but I don't think I you know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know. You are going to be judgmental, even if you're forefront of your mind, you're like, hey, I'm going to be a good guy right now and not call this guy up.
no, you always
crap,
judge
right?
stuff. Everybody does.
In the back of your mind, you're going, that's nothing like my experience.
Yeah.
And I haven't met another person who's had it, except I've heard people who have spoken about it in interviews and stuff like that, and they come close to it, but I can't even vet them with my questions. You know what I mean? All I will say is there's one person I read who had an experience just like mine. His name was Nevan Parr. Actually, you might find this interesting. His name's Nevan Parr, and he wrote a book. 2 books, one called the Kundalini Compendium and one was called the Magus, and it's how he bridged Kundalini and Golden Dawn magic to understand what happened to him, because he, just like me, had an unexpected awakening. And and this is also kind of what I think. I don't know that what's happening when people are doing the intentional like breath work ones, I don't know that that's what's happening, because the people who have said that they've had it, that's not my experience with it.
I think they're,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I honestly think that they, like, if you know how many people, how hard it is to actually do the mysteries teachings in the proper order, how much discipline it takes. It takes a lot. And most people don't. I haven't made it through it. Like, I've had to redo it 3 or 4 times because it's so intense. But I can tell you energetically, I can feel when they say, hey, this is a safe and subtle way to get to this certain place, where other people seem like they're trying to force it in themselves through meditation or sex stuff or, drugs even. And it's like, that doesn't.
Yeah. And some people are trying to force it to, by being something that they are is inauthentic. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge problem. And I think that maybe that gave me an edge, because as destructive as I was, it's almost like what that Stabbatian Frankism, right? Sinning for God, right? I was living a really awful way, for a really long time. And like, truthfully, man, like, I'm the only one of my friends growing up that's still alive. So like I was we were in a really rough situation, and I lived by whatever impulse I had, and maybe just a hypothesis, but maybe that had something. That's the only thing when I look around at other people, the only way I can really say anything about me that's been particularly unique is that I was living like that, because a lot of people don't survive living like that. You know what I mean?
Not if you were in opiate stuff. I've struged with that my whole life, dude.
I mean, it was worse than that for me. Like, I was truly. They used to say he does 3 times as much as everybody else and gets half as high. So it was really a bizarre scenario.
Yeah, that's what kills people with the opiates. I'm glad I got off of it when I did, but I still had to switch to like Suboxone because it just took over my body, But like, people, I met some people. I'm like, how could you be taking this much? Like, I just never took that much. But the thing is it's not some kind of way to judge people. This stuff, literally, no matter how much you take, you start to become not immune, but there's another word for it. Where
progressive tolerance.
Yeah, you could just keep stacking and stacking and stacking.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
I have a hypothesis on it though, because I'm diagnosed autistic, right? And so what that means is that I have more. There's more neurons in my prefrontal cortex that are able to make synaptic connections, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that potentially I just burn through it more, but also a lot of me has wondered in the past few years if the autism might have something also to do with the series of events that has happened. Because my whole life I have had what people thought was like a precognition, But really, it's just that I am processing more things at a greater speed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
I got a friend who's autistic
there was a game.
too. It's
There was a game
different.
called Egyptian Rat Screw that we'd play when we were kids, where you have to, if doubles were thrown down, and nobody looked at the cards, but if doubles were thrown down, and everybody has to throw the cards really quick, you get to take the whole deck for yourself. And I, without fail, would always know when doubles were going to be thrown, and that's when I really saw. But also, there was an experience when I was in grade 2. I sat down at the piano, and I just knew how to play the piano. Like, I know how to play. I'm like really good at the piano, and I never had a lesson. I never had even tried to think about how to do it. I just know how to play the piano.
One thing that I've noticed about autistic folk, if I was to lie to you or bullshit you, you would know it more than anybody. You would know it.
Yeah, I couldn't let you do that trick.
You wouldn't
Now,
talk. You wouldn't even talk to me.
Not only would you not get by me, but I wouldn't be able to allow you to do it without at least acknowledging to you in private that I knew you were lying to me.
Yeah. Like a lot of people don't know this, but the guy that that used to host late night, Ryan Gable, he has a form of autism too, so he doesn't relate to people very well. But we became really good friends because it's not that he can't lie. Of course he can. It's just his brain finds it in a split millisecond a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. That's one thing too, is like changing my lifestyle altogether. Like I was not cut out for like the nefarious aspects of that lifestyle. I really wasn't cut out for it. Somehow I managed to do that, but I learned how to wear masks because I mirror people, because I don't really I don't think I truly understand social interactions. I'm good at mirroring. And so that mirroring ability, I knew how to mirror. But because I got so good at mirroring, that's why you can't get by on me. Because I'm so used to mirroring people, I know when I'm mirroring somebody who is hiding a deceit.
Yeah.
Or they're trying, or they're trying, the things that they're saying, the intention behind it is that they need for me to believe what they're saying.
Bro, this God helmet thing, when's the last time you used it?
It would have been the beginning of May of this year.
So you're kind of hesitant to go back down that road again too, huh?
It's not hesitant. It's I went hard at it after that happened to no effect. Not no effect. You get a good gateway. You could get you. You know what I'm saying? Like a good, some good breath work could get you there. I mean, it's specifically that the entity told me how to get back to it. Said no more shortcuts, because anything else I do is going to leave room for doubt. And it had a very, very good point. Oh, I forgot to tell you this one of the craziest parts about it, right? When it ended, is that I realized I'm looking at the thing, and I realized that it has a cord connected from going up its leg, and then I realized that the cord was going to my spine. And when I realized that, it was a moment where it's like almost like I pulled the curtain back on The Wizard of Oz real quick. You know what I mean? And I saw it was me behind the curtain. Like, it was me. I'm saying, like, I don't know if that's what that intentionally showed me that. You know what I'm saying?
Like it was a symbol, or it was showing you a symbol of the connection, or was it like a real?
Right. Yeah. So I I'm having this conversation, and I'm weeping, and I'm thanking it. I mean, it was truly a beautiful experience at this point. And then I realized I'm looking down at its feet, because I'm like, where can I kiss this thing? Do you know what I mean? And I look down at its feet, and I see this cord going from its foot. And I look down, and I realize this cord, glowing cord, wraps around, and I realize it's going up my leg, and I realize it's connected to, and I reach behind me, and I realize it's connected to my spine. And the second I did that, it was literally a moment where it was like, it's you, and then boom, I'm back.
That's so crazy, man. Well, so what about OBEs then? Have you had any, like, I mean, obviously this is a major
okay,
thing,
so and I want to caveat the OBEs because like this is when I had the Kundalini stuff happen. So I'm weary of a lot of the things that happened immediately afterwards. Granted, there was some poltergeist activity that happened afterwards. We had an instance where my girlfriend and I were laying in my bed, and my bookshelf flew off from the wall into the middle of the room. And then there was another instance where I woke up because outside of our window at her house, outside of her window, I was dreaming, and I heard somebody tell me to wake up. They said, "Wake up, I'm here." And when I opened my eyes, as soon as I opened my eyes, right through her bedroom window, there is no one will ever believe this, an impossibly large owl sitting outside of her bedroom window. And
that I can believe, because that is something that I absolutely do believe, because that is something that I've seen happen to many people, even in my personal life, in synchronistic ways. Really? I'm talking about, yeah, dude. Like one of my ex-girls, like we were supposed to meet spiritually. I just know. I don't know for what still to this day. I have no idea. But there was a lot of synchronistic things happening in the astral with us. And then one of them was an owl. Like we were talking about something, had a massive synchro, and an owl smacked her window. Just boom, just smacked her window, right? And this was one of like 6 owl experiences that I've had. And then I had that Mike Clellan guy on talking about it too, which freaked me out, because he's like the owl guy,
This owl experience I had led me to your Mike Clellan episode, actually. I saw him on the Danny Jones one too. Yeah. Because so I wake up because it says, "Wake up, I'm here." And I open my eyes, and it's not a cute fucking Harry, I'm sorry. It's not a cute owl.
It's not like a sweet looking owl, right? It's probably a scary one.
Yeah. It was one of those ones that has the terrifying, gigantic eyes.
Yeah.
Like that were it like I don't know how to describe that, but so I immediately go, ugh, right? As any grown man should. Yeah. And my girlfriend then wakes up and she sees it and she lets out a shriek of terror. At which point we both pass out and wake up a few hours later.
What the hell?
Yeah. Okay. So hang on. We're going into the floating. Days after that owl incident, I just wrote about this in your chat, actually. I wake up and I'm floating. There's a guitar hanging. I have a guitar holder on the wall, right? And I'm floating through where I know there to be a guitar hanging on the wall, right? And I float into my bed. And I am in sleep paralysis, but I'm almost kind of like dumb because I'm like, I know that this is. I know this isn't right. Like this doesn't add up. Yeah. And I don't have any experience with gateway or anything like that at this point, right? So but the rumbling sensation is what got to me because it was like a knocking, and I felt like my shoulders rocking back and forth intensely, right? And the feeling was such an uncomfortable feeling. It was an uncomfortable pressure coming up through my spine from my back, like through my shoulders and through my spine, up through the top of my chest. And I'm like rocking back and forth as I float back down to my bed. And so that led me into looking into Gateway. But like I said, there's so much nonsense. There's so much nonsense out there to catch a person when like you're having a series of events like this go on. There's so much nonsense out there to catch you that I invested a lot of time into nonsensical things, and just to get to the end of it and look around and go, I think that I'm standing in a room full of people who think they have cities, and I think they're just on drugs,
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I get
cities
that.
are magic powers for people that don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And dude, I totally get that. That's why I'm doing the tarot series and all this other stuff too. Cause I'm like, this whole thing is not what people think it is, man. It's not from my point of view anyways. It's been nothing but a crazy spiritual experience of growth and I guess you could say uncertainty. It's
like a
not certainty.
spiritual experience, isn't it? Because that's why I felt like so far in this entire experience, I feel like Carl Jung has spoken to me the most. Like, I'm pretty sure he went through a very similar experience in his time, and I'm pretty sure he had things that he did. He was successful and in a scientific field, or at least for the majority of his career, and he couldn't just outright be like, I have these experiences with these entities that I believe to be outside of me. So he had to figure out this language. But it's almost like how, there's blinds on a lot of like occult texts.
You think that's what he did?
I almost feel like a lot of the psychological stuff that he puts on it is blinds for people. It's to get rid of those who don't have the eyes to see, kind of a thing.
That makes sense. Like, because when you read his red book, he talks about, he drops a lot of, and I haven't even gotten to the black books yet. That stuff wasn't supposed to be released. That's like all his diaries. He pulled stuff out of there to make the red book. And I haven't even gotten into that
knocking.
yet.
I mean, he's not the only one who heard the knocking at his house. His whole family heard the knocking.
Yeah, so you do that. I'm glad you brought that up, because I totally forgot.
The mail was it the mailbox or mail slot or something opening and closing all the time, stuff like that.
Yep. It's trippy, man. Like this is what I'm saying. If, in my opinion, if you're really like, I just call it void walking because that's all I know to call it, like a crazy. But if you're actually going through this spiritual growth, these spiritual teachers talk about things with such certainty that I don't see where they get the certainty from, because it gets more fantastical as it goes, more unknowable as it goes.
Well,
it's like you're coming in contact with your higher self, but everything.
I think there's a thing that would make people really uncomfortable, and that would be knowing that maybe what you think is a fact is not real. It is not as solid as you think it is.
Yeah.
And that what I've kind of come to experience is like, it is that I live in this. I do think that potentially that this is all the energy of consciousness that we exist in. We live in it like a liquid form of consciousness, right? And it can take on all of these different. So, like, if you were to describe ice to me, do you think I would ever believe, if I didn't have having seen ice turn into water, I would ever believe it was gas?
Right. Yeah. I get what you're
You know
saying.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So it's like I think some of us are just living in ice, and some of us are living in gas, and it's just like, but I don't know. Again, I hate being deterministic, because you know what I think. I'm still. Unfortunately, I think I'm still cynical, because you may have seen me pick apart some things before on your channel of the hemisync stuff, you know, where I question it, but it's very likely that you're able to have a completely mutually exclusive experience to me. You know what I mean? In this consciousness suit, like we could just be, it could be a lot weirder than we ever, are ever going to be able to. That's what the word ineffable is there for, right?
But in what I'm thinking though is you should question it. Like, that's why when everyone asks me, well, these specific questions, I'm like, I don't know, man. Get to the vibratory state, get out of body, and then report back to me and tell me what happened, because I'm still trying to find. I mean, even if you listen to the Monroe books, the parallels are the only things that you can hold on to. Because this whole world of like consciousness and the astral world and all this stuff is very elusive, man. So like we have to.
I think it would be important for everybody to learn the Thelemites. Say what you will about Crowley. Dude loved poop, but he did say some smart things, and he was very keen on don't be deterministic. Just get out your diary and write it down, right?
Yeah.
And then like. In 10 years, go back and look at all your diary entries and see if you think the thing.
Yeah,
you know?
even your dreams.
And
I've had dreams where I'm
compare
like,
it with
I know
somebody else.
exactly what that means. 6 months later, I was like, now I know what it means. And I may still
Right.
not know, you know. That's how powerful
Oh,
your
man.
unconscious is. And you have no idea like how deep that rabbit hole goes, you know.
Right. And then also have you ever had the experience of just cringing at what you were so sure of like yesterday?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
if I go
oh,
back
man.
and listen to some of the shows that I did before, like I'm like, what is? Yeah, you know. And I'm glad that I have you guys around
I
here
actually
too.
watched
So
one of your shows from about 5 years ago. I think it was a couple of days ago, and I just want to say you look a lot healthier than you did back then.
Really,
like physically, you look a lot healthier. Yeah, you had dark circles under your eyes, and you were about 20 pounds heavier.
yeah, I don't know what happened. Like sometimes I think there was a time. I've had a few times on the show where I've went so deep into my mind that my body stopped moving, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
And like when I was doing the magic and the OBE stuff, I was obsessed with it, bro. Like people say, no, I don't think they understand the level of obsessed I was, because after that first OBE experience where I saw my body and did all that stuff, the people, I almost felt like I was a totally different person. Like you couldn't tell me that it was a dream or a lucid dream or whatever. Like, no, man, it's none of that. And I still have trouble to this day trying to explain to people it is not those things, you know. And that's why I want to get people to that state so they can go, now I know what you mean.
I might actually be where you are at right now, because hear me out. When this all started happening, I went into it with, okay, I'm going to turn on spirituality one day. Well, I came with preconceived notions from Judeo-Christianity about things like magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly about that it's demonic and evil and all this, right? And I've done some deep diving spiritually, and everything comes up magic. Everything points to your answers are going to be there. If you want to know the answers, your answers are going to be there. If you don't want to know the answers, that's fine. Pick a favorite Kardashian and get on with that life. You know?
Right, yeah, right. Well, Corey, man, I hope you call back in, dude. Like, please keep calling in if you want to. You know, I find that a lot of people think that they ramble or they whatever, and I'm telling you, it's not like that at all, dude. This is one of the best calls we've ever had on this show. So I wouldn't worry
man,
about
thank you. And I really appreciate getting to talk about it too, just because, like, you can imagine, I've never been able to just lay the timeline out for anybody, because I worry that somebody's going to say you're crazy, and I don't want to hear that, because I've been through too much at this point to want to, you know, I want to be validated. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And but at the same time, I still have that critical eye on things, and I don't want anybody to think that I haven't bumped my head and learned what it is and what it isn't. You know, and the Doc in Back to the Future where you bumped your head and now you know what the flux capacitor is, you know? Oh, right, exactly, yeah. At least I'm not, you know, I'm not going to go into trying to kiss my mom in the back of a Chevy or anything. But anyways, you have a good night, Joe. You too, brother. Thanks for the phone call. All right. It's good to hear from you. There goes Corey. Wow. Dude, there's so many things. Like, I'm going to have to re-listen to that again. There's so many things about what he said that resonate, but also after listening to Monroe's books and studying all this stuff and what happened with Corey when he came back, what he said when he came back, you know, kind of dying and coming back too, that's trippy. Yeah. Really trippy. Well, this is what the show's all about, actually. Lighting the void walking right, trying to get it down. So we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same channel. We, for the rest of the week on up to Halloween, during the late nights, we're going to try to play some Halloween stuff. Audio dramas. I love Halloween. Just to kind of ground you, get you in the spirit of Halloween, too. And then I think pretty sure we're going to be doing something Halloween night as well. You never know what we got in the store for you around here, right? So anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow night, same time, same channel. And, oh, damn,
I was supposed to mention, well, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. Whatever. Love you guys. Night. Sweet dreams. All that stuff.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole. You can say that.
Shout out to those listening on the radio station. Leave your dedications. Phoenix, San Antonio, Salt Lake City, Winnipeg, Portland, Ohio, New York, New Hampshire. Night.